Novo.
Hey, you made me sit low today. I'm down in this chair, and you guys are above me. Is this a Thurman thing? Is this a Thurman thing?
Jeremy said, let him feel like he's a lower class citizen.
Yes, I knew it. I'm going to have to terminate his employment.
Don't put words in my mouth.
He wanted you closer to his height. No,
that's hey, he's back at the office busting his backside on a project we have. So I got to give him credit. He's working hard right now. I won't, even if he'd come in here today and he told you to do this, he'd still be okay today.
I think you're only saying nice things about him because he's working, and so he's not listening.
He's accomplishing something.
Well, as you know, by all this setup, it's Free Legal Advice Friday with McIntyre Law's Noble McIntyre. Got a couple of different kind of questions for you this morning.
Okay.
Yes, you've done a really good job. This listeners noticed. You've educated us on the fact that it takes a while for a personal injury case to go to trial.
It does.
But what they want to know is, after it's all said and done, how long does it typically take to get a settlement check from that?
It's a very good question. So let's just say this case proceeds all the way to a jury trial. At the conclusion, the judge gives everything to the jury. The jury comes back with a verdict in favor of my client. Okay, so now I have a verdict. What happens next is there are certain costs that, as you go through the case, that are recoverable in addition to the verdict. So let's say the jury says, I'm giving you $500,000 for your injury. There will have some expenses I spent in that case that by statute I'm allowed to add on to that the defendant also has to pay. So a motion will have to be filed saying these are the costs that I think are applicable. The defense will be able to contest them or agree with them. That all takes about 14 days. Okay, so now your 14 days gone by, you agree on the cost. Now you enter the verdict, at which point the other side will have, the court usually gives them 30 days to make payment on that verdict. So if everything goes as fast as possible and you can't just simply agree, here are my costs, it can take 45 days. But you could do it a lot quicker. You could have a verdict where it's a car accident case, verdict $25,000. The other side says, all right, the $6,000 you spent's agreeable. We'll have a check to you in 10 days. So it can go as quick as 10 days. It can take as much as 45. With this caveat, we settled a case about 3 months ago, an asbestos case. I hope the defense firm lawyer that's in that case is listening to me right now. We basically had to file a motion to say quit being stupid because they had not yet given us a check. We asked and asked and asked. So we had to file a motion with the court to enforce the settlement.
Wow.
And so we set that on the judge's docket. They filed a response because they didn't like how abrasive we were in our deal, because we didn't pull any punches. I mean, they should have given us the check for our client, and they didn't, so we were not very pleased, and we said that, and they had a response that wasn't very pleased. It's now set for the judicial docket, but now they've come back and they've sent the check. So that took about 3.5 months, and it should have only taken about 8 weeks.
But that's why you need to hire McIntyre Law to send those emails for you, get it done.
Yes.
You guys are going to go get the money.
Yeah, because there are times that people resolve stuff and the defense just drags their feet, and it makes it take longer than it should. In those cases, it's never the plaintiff that's dragging their feet because they want to be paid.
Of course,
it's the defense. And so
I have a question to follow up on that because it just shows my ignorance here. So first of all, who actually cuts this check? Is it the judicial system?
Nope. It'll be the insurance company. We've talked about this before. Jurors are never told that there's an insurance company involved. That's who's pulling the punches. That's who's making on behalf of the defense. They're making the decision making. They're telling the lawyers what to do. They're paying the lawyers to represent them. It's not the person that caused the crash or the business that owned the oil field company where the person got hurt. It's a great big insurance company, and they're motivated by one thing: money. And they're the ones that ultimately have to write the check. So what will happen is once the verdict's finalized, once costs are agreed to, the defense lawyer will then send to the adjuster his contact with the insurance company, say, here's how much you need to write the check for. They'll requisition a check. They'll send it to the defense firm, who will then call and say, it's here. You can send someone to pick it up, or we'll mail it to you. What would you like? And so that's how that works.
So real quick, do they cut two checks, one for you and then one for your client, or do they cut one and then if I'm your client, I'm responsible for giving you what you I guess get?
No, so the check will come payable to, it will come to me, and if I'm representing a person, it will come to me payable to myself and my client, and if there's anybody that has a lien on the case. So sometimes medical providers will give care where a person doesn't have health insurance, and so they'll file a lien. So let's just say I represented you, verdict was $100,000, and you had Integris Baptist, 2 chiropractors, and your personal doctor, and they all had a lien. That check would come payable to myself, to you, and every doctor that had a lien.
Oh.
It would go into my trust account. Okay, we would get authorization from the medical providers to put their endorsement on the check with the guarantee we're going to pay them, because they know that if we don't, we're going to be in trouble.
Right.
It will go into my trust account, and then I will issue checks from the trust account, one to you for what's yours, one to my firm, and one to everybody that's a lien holder.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious when we started going down that road.
We're getting educated.
We are. All right, real quick, let's do the second one before we have to get you out of here. Would it be a good idea to ask a lawyer what's your experience with a case like mine?
That's 100% the thing that you should ask. In fact, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm often surprised that question never gets asked or rarely gets asked in meetings, because think about it. I might have thousands of cases, but to you, that's your only case, which makes that in your mind the single most important case in my firm. If you're going to entrust a lawyer with a case that's that important, for which you may have been catastrophically injured, don't you want to know if they're any good? I mean, in the NFL, they don't get a quarterback most times unless they know that they can perform. They want to know what the athletic performance is going to be. You should know. And there's nothing wrong with asking, what's your win-loss rate? Do you even try cases? Because if you're hiring a lawyer, and there's lawyers out there that call themselves trial lawyers, they're just settlement lawyers. They've never actually tried a case. And the insurance companies know that, and the offers are lower as a reflection of that. If the insurance company knows you have a lawyer that's going to go try a case and can beat them, they're going to give you more money. So you need to say, have you tried cases? How many? What are your results? Do you win? And in addition to that, it's like, just generally how successful you've been. Tell me about your history.
Follow-up. They wanted to know if it's offensive to ask, what's your track record?
No, it's not offensive. A lawyer should. If a lawyer is offended by that question, it's only because they don't have a good answer. And so if they're going to be offended, how dare you ask me what my success is? It's going to be because they've had little success. If a lawyer is good at what they're doing, they've been doing it for a long time, have had good results, they're going to say, good question. Here's my last trial. My last verdict was for this. My win-loss ratio is this. Look, I've lost some. I've been practicing 30 years. I've only lost 3 trials, but all 3 of them hurt my feelings. I mean, I thought,
no, I get it.
But if you have a lawyer that tells you they've never lost a trial, it's because they're not trying cases. Yeah. Because you have jurors out there. Any case can be won or lost, and you can have a case that's very, very strong and still get some jurors that bring in some biases that they don't tell you about during voir dire, and they rule against you. And so anybody that says they've never lost just isn't trying cases. You want somebody that's willing to try cases. You want somebody that wins them far more often than they don't. It is not offensive. It is a question you should ask. You should also ask what their contingency fee is and how that compares to other people.
Now, what if we Google you? I'm just curious. I'm going to put you on the spot since you said you're not offended. If I Google you, what am I going to find?
Probably my billboard that says McIntyre Rhymes with Winning.
All right, Smarty.
You're going to find with me, it's a good question. If you find me, where I stand out different than a lot of lawyers is the charitable stuff I do in the community. So you'll find a lot of stuff about my turkey giveaway. You'll find a lot of stuff about what I've done there. But as far as my firm and my success, 30-year history in Oklahoma, Oklahoma and representing Oklahomans for the most part. My track record is impeccable. We win all the time. We represent people. We've only ever done this where we represent plaintiffs. I only get paid if I win, which means I have a very vested interest. It's very aligned with yours. The more I get you, the more I make for my firm. So my goal is to maximize your case, which should be your goal too. So you go Google me and you look at the reviews for McIntyre Law, almost all 5 stars. You'll be surprised at some of the other firms that you've heard of, and you go look at their reviews. I mean, if you go to me, I think we've got 500 reviews. I think maybe there's 2 1 stars, 1 that has no comment, and 1 is hilarious. Somebody was upset at me. We wouldn't take their case. Go Google me, look it up in the 1 star. And it was legit that they were unhappy that Sonic doesn't put more M&Ms in their Sonic Blast. And God. That was my 1-star review that I would not take that case. So those are my 2 or 3 1-star reviews. None say anything, and 1 person unhappy about a Sonic. You go look at some other lawyers' 1 stars, it says stuff like, lawyer's dishonest, lawyer's not smart, lawyer doesn't know what they're doing. So if you compare McIntyre Law to most people, ours is through the roof, and it's because we try so hard to do very, very good for our clients.
And
go look up McIntyre Law reviews and compare them to do it. Everybody out there listening, do it right now. I'm very confident on how we're going to compare.
Let me tell you, does Noble sound like a guy that's going to be offended by you asking him his track record? You sound like a guy that would be more than happy to tell you.
All I know is if it's in print, it must be true. So those signs that say McIntyre Rhymes with Winning, it wouldn't be up there if it wasn't true.
This is why we tell you all the time, get a hold of Noble. Okay, I'm going to throw out the first 3, and then you guys chime in. 405-777-7000.
Or, of course, you can email us at asknoble@tylermedia.com.
Noble, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.